Hello and welcome. When you think about a country's progress, what comes to mind? Probably skyscrapers, bustling cities, right? Well, today we're going to take you somewhere different. We're going to the very heart of India, to its villages, to follow the journey of one farmer, Suman, and see how her story really tells the story of an entire nation. You see, Mahatma Gandhi had this really clear vision. The true measure of India's progress wasn't in its cities, but in its villages. This powerful idea sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about. It's a reminder of where the soul of the nation really is. And that, of course, brings us to the big question. Decades later, how does that vision actually hold up? Well, to figure that out, we've got to look at the huge challenges, but also the quiet revolutions that are happening in fields and villages all across the country. So we begin with what we're calling the soul of the village. And to understand rural India, you really have to let this sink in. More than 2/3 of the population still depends directly on agriculture. This isn't just a job, it's a whole way of life. And this is where we meet our main character, Suman. Her story is the story of so many. She's a small farmer, and her entire life is ruled by the seasons, the harvest, and this constant cycle of uncertainty. And you know where that often leads? Crushing debt. Okay, so our next section is all about the debt trap, or Kars Kajal. And for Suman, this is problem number one. Like millions of others, she's caught in the grip of the local moneylender, and it's a cycle that is incredibly hard to escape. Okay, take a look at this. The contrast here is just wow. On one side, you've got the local moneylender. We're talking sky-high interest rates, dodgy accounting, the whole trap. And on the other side, you've got actual banks with formal credit, cheaper rates, and a real path to empowerment. But here's the kicker. For so many people like Suman, just getting a foot in the door of a bank, that's the real hurdle. But Suman finds a different way. It's not some big government bank. It's something way smaller, way more personal. A self-help group, or an SHG. It's a simple idea, really. It's basically the women in her village putting their savings together. And for Suman, this is a total game changer. And just so you know, this isn't some small local thing. By 2019, there were 54 lakh, that's 5.4 million, of these women's self-help groups all across India. That number just shows you the incredible scale of this grassroots financial revolution. It's huge.
So you're probably wondering, how does this actually work? Well, the beauty of it is in its simplicity. First, the women pool whatever small savings they have. Then, from that little pot of money, they give out small loans to members who need it, and at fair interest rates. And that simple act gives them a ladder to climb right out of that moneylender's debt trap.
All right, on to our third section, the journey to the market. So, with that loan from her group, Suman finally has a successful crop. Great news, right? Well, her journey is far from over. Escaping the moneylender was just hurdle number one. Now she's got to face the market. And let me tell you, the market is just filled with traps. You've got traders using faulty weights. They can cook the books. They can force farmers like Suman to sell at rock-bottom prices, especially if she has no place to store her produce. The whole system feels like it's just stacked against the small farmer. But this is where government intervention can be a real game changer. Suman can now take her produce to what's called a regulated market yard. These places are designed specifically to make things transparent, to make sure farmers don't get cheated, and to help them get the price they actually deserve. And she doesn't stop there. She takes another big step. Suman joins a marketing cooperative. See, by pooling all their produce together, Suman and the other farmers suddenly have way more bargaining power. Just think about the incredible success of the Amul milk cooperatives in Gujarat. It's that exact same idea, strength in numbers. So, on to our fourth section, new paths to income. Suman's handled her debt problem and her market problem, but now she has this huge realization. Relying on just one crop is just way too risky. Think about it. One bad monsoon and she could lose everything. She has to diversify. And this is where something called allied activities comes into play. So take a look at this chart. Livestock is a huge part of the rural economy. And what just jumps out at you? Poultry. It's a massive 61% of the whole livestock sector. And what does that mean? It means a steady, alternative source of cash that goes beyond just what you can grow in a field. So, what does Suman do? She takes her earnings and starts a small poultry farm. And this is such a smart move. See, eggs and chickens, they provide a regular income that has nothing to do with whether it rains or not. And that gives her family this absolutely crucial financial cushion. But she's not done yet. She diversifies even further, this time into horticulture. We're talking fruits, vegetables, flowers. And this is actually part of a much bigger shift in India, something they call the Golden Revolution. A new focus on these high-value crops that provide a lot of jobs, especially for women. So now Suman is thriving. I mean, really thriving. She's out of debt, she has different sources of income, her family is secure. But now she starts thinking even bigger. She starts thinking about the long-term health of her land, of her farm, about a more sustainable future. And that leads her to organic farming. Basically, it's a system of farming that's all about working with nature, not fighting against it. Restoring the balance by ditching all those chemical fertilizers and nasty pesticides. And the benefits? They're pretty compelling. For starters, she can use cheaper inputs that she can get locally instead of buying expensive chemicals. There's a growing demand for organic stuff, especially for exports, which means higher income. And of course, the food is healthier for everyone, and it's way better for the planet. It's a win-win-win. Okay, but let's be real, it's not all sunshine and roses. There are some serious challenges. For the first few years, your yields might actually be lower. Your produce might not last as long on the shelf. And you need to learn a whole new set of skills. It's a big switch. So Suman's journey from being trapped in debt to becoming this diversified, sustainable entrepreneur, that really is the path forward. Her story just perfectly captures the key ideas and the grassroots movements that are slowly but surely changing everything in rural India. And that brings us to maybe the most important takeaway of this entire explainer. The question is this: why is diversifying in agriculture so absolutely essential for a sustainable life in these areas? And the answer? Well, it's right there in Suman's story. Think about it. When a drought came and put her main crop at risk, her family's income didn't just plummet to zero. Why? Because the chickens were still laying eggs. The vegetables could still be sold at the market. That is the power of diversification. That's the safety net. It's what transforms a life built on uncertainty into one with stability and, with real hope for the future.